So, UFC top prospects for the 125 division. The guy that I've actually picked at number one, it's a little bit weird because he's currently suspended due to a suspected, not confirmed, but a suspected USADA violation. And USADA haven't had the best record recently, so there's enough reason to give Mateus Nicolai Pereira the benefit of the doubt. Currently 12-1-1. He's a good striker with a wicked ground game. He owns the first Japanese necktie submission in UFC history. What's going to happen with the future of his career? A lot of that depends on, what the decision with USADA is. Maybe he's cleared and he's just lost a few months of his career. Or maybe he's suspended for 2 years. And at this point, him becoming called a top prospect, let's stick a pin in that. So we'll see what happens with the USADA situation. But if it turns out he did nothing wrong and everything's fine, I honestly don't care one way or the other. I'm not a huge fan of his beyond loving the sport, but I think if he is cleared, he's the top prospect in the division. The second guy on my list is Ben Nguyen, 17-6, but currently 3-1 in the UFC. This Vietnamese American is already ranked inside the top 15 for the UFC, but like I said, I think those rankings are trash. He had a bad spell between 2009 and 2010, losing 4 or 5, but since made significant adjustments and is currently 10-1 in his last 11 bouts. He has a high-level striking game, and I think he's improving on the ground. He could be a contender by the end of this year or 2018. If DJ is still around, it's hard to see anybody beating DJ. But I think Ngannou could certainly become the number one contender in the division. And my last fighter rounding out this division, Magomed Bibulatov. 13-0, yet to make his UFC debut. But he is a very well-rounded fighter who could be part of the Russians wave taking over. The number of top young talents that are what we might consider prospects that are Russians is scary. Honorable mentions to Ray Borg, Alex Pantoyo, and Jared Brooks, if he ever gets to fight after the McCall fight got called off. So yeah, I think the 125 division, there is a strong king at the top of the division, but there's plenty of young up-and-comers trying to get at him. Outside of the UFC, Jose Torres is officially 4-0. After losing his first amateur bout, he won a reported 25 amateur bouts straight. He had a wrestling scholarship at Division II McKendree University, which certainly helped round out his game, as he was already a very well decorated striker, having won multiple kickboxing titles. It's difficult to say anything other than he's a few levels away from the UFC at the moment. But if we're talking about the future, the end of this career, I think Torres is going to be a big star. He's going to be a big star inside the UFC. And I like him, Again, it's a matter of how he progresses, to take the skills to the next level. But I think he's got everything to be a top star. Number 2 on the list, Yoni Sherbatov, 6-0 with 1 draw. The 28-year-old recently improved his record with a TKO victory over, TKO win, after drawing in the Tyson Nam fight. He has very good potential. He's certainly got, let's say, I don't want to say pad the record. He's got to get some extra wins on there. I think the days where the UFC is bringing guys in too early in some people's minds. Maybe over, unless you've got, you know, CM Punk kind of credibility. Well, maybe not credibility. CM Punk kind of levels of fans that you can bring across with you. You know, that's more accurate. Sherbatov did lose to Eric Shelton on season 24 of The Ultimate Fighter. I think, having seen him after that in other fights, I think he's better than that. I think he's better than what he performed like there. That may also just be a case of Sheldon's UFC level and Sherbatov wasn't. You know, the guys I've seen Sherbatov against, even let's say Tyson Nam, you know, Tyson Nam isn't a UFC level fighter. That's why he's not fighting in the UFC. He fought in the UFC before, but he's not a UFC level fighter, you know, otherwise they wouldn't have let him go. So, does Sherbatov have the potential to be a massive star? I don't think he does, but I think he deserves to be in the UFC. Number 3 on the list, Khalid Akhmetov, 23-0. Many people would ask why he's not the number 1 on this list. My answer to that is simple. The guy is 29 years old. He appears pretty settled at one championship. Why? I don't understand why he would move across. A big fight against DJ, yeah, it would be a huge fight. It would be great for the hardcore fans, but casual fans, you know, a lot of casual fans might not even know who DJ is. They certainly don't know who Akhmetov is. So I don't know why he would move across. I would love to see him move across. I think he would be a top 5 guy for sure. But, you know, do you want to be a big fish? Number 4 on the list, Adriano Moraes. Another flyweight making a name for himself over at 1. Currently 15-2. He has lost his last, he's only lost one, in the last 7. And that was to the guy we just talked about, Akhmetov. At 27, I feel he's actually more likely to end up in the UFC than Akhmetov. So he has trained at the AT&T as well, which would show, in my eyes at least, that shows a willingness to move over. A willingness to move over to the UFC and to America. He's got a very high level ground game, you know. So does he want to test that against the best in the world? I would like to think yes. Number 5 on the list, Askar Askarov. Currently 8-0, the 24-year-old has finished all his opponents. 5 via submission and 3 via TKO. Show that he's dangerous everywhere. Again, this is probably a situation where Askarov has to make a step up, probably to an American organization, win a couple there, and then get the call from the UFC. Number 6, Rogero Bontorin. 10-0 with 9 wins via submission. The Brazilian has the grappling skills to make a big impact. He did miss weight in his last fight, causing the victory to be ruled a no contest. I think that is the big concern. And I don't know whether I'd say it's a big concern because the weight class is so small, so missing weight once lower down, it's possibly quite indicative that you would struggle to get there again. You know, if you miss weight at middleweight or light heavyweight, actually, you know, a lot of things could go wrong because the margin for error is much larger. I think, you know, if we're talking about the 125 division, these guys are, you know, they should be walking around pretty low. You know, it's not like they're getting rid of 10 or 20% of the body weight. You know, at heavyweight, a lot of the guys, or light heavyweight, a lot of the guys walk around very heavy. You know, light heavyweight or middleweight, and they drop a lot of weight. So when a guy misses weight, I think at 125, that's a red flag. Number 7 on the list, Seshiro Ito, 11, 1, and 2. The 2 draws are actually due to time limits, so yeah, it's kind of weird. I haven't managed to see them to see how he was doing in the fight, whether he was winning those fights or not. It's kind of weird. It's kind of something I would like to see introduced in one way, and then on the other hand, not so much. But anyway, yeah, he's got 7 wins via submission. You know, another guy, he's a few steps away from the UFC level. He's certainly got enough ability to be on the list, and I think he's got enough ability to compete if he ever gets into the UFC. Number 8 on the list, Gustavo Gabriel, 12-0 with 6 wins via submission, 4 via TKO, and still only 22-year-old. He's very well rounded and looking like a future top 10 contender in the UFC. He has some nasty chokes, and I think he could put anybody who enters the octagon with him into danger. That said, again, I don't know if the UFC are looking to add to this division. They just did the show with the other champions, and I don't think they picked up as many of them as other people would have expected. So what's the chance of Gabriel being picked up? I don't know. I would like to see them give him a shot. Number 9 on the list, Pietro Pitbull Menga. How I wish there were less pitbulls in the UFC. Or not in the UFC, in MMA. You know, I think this is the most overused goddamn nickname or ring name, whatever you want to call it, in MMA. Anyway, other than the stupid ring name, Menga is 13-0. He's got 8 submission victories. He's a lot more creative in the cage than you might imagine. He's, you know, he's not just another English clone. I think he could thrive under the spotlight in the UFC. He's a tough guy. He can stand up to most of the punishment that's thrown his way. He's currently fighting in Bellator, and that could be the step he needs towards the UFC. I think he's going to get there, and I think he could do very well. You know, I don't see at the moment, I don't see anybody outside the top 5 in the UFC beating him. And the last guy on the list, Wada Tatsumitsu, not to be confused with World Anti-Doping Agency, the 28-year-old who lost his first 5 fights. You know, he's got a 17-8 record, so let's consider that 17-3. You know, but to lose your first 5 fights and keep going, I think that shows the character of this guy. You know, he has a lot of experience and could step into the top 10, top 15 in the UFC tomorrow. Having said that, at 28, I don't know if there's going to be enough improvement for him to ever be a top 5 contender. You know, looking through the archive of his fights, it's difficult for me to say that he evolves fastly between fights, that the fighter he is today is much better than the fighter he was when he started out. You know, I don't think that the evolution that he's shown up to this point is enough for me to consider that he's going to evolve from where he is to where he needs to be to beat the top guys, you know, the top 5 guys in a short period. So that's why he's number 10 on the list. I think he can get to the UFC. I just don't think he's going to be a major player there. Okay, so that's the round out for the 125 division. You know, have a look at the other lists. Let me know what you think is right. Let me know what you think is wrong. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.